This is Christian Breton of Quebec City, Quebec. You're listening to the International Radio Report on CKUT 90.3 FM in Montreal.
Welcome to the International Radio Report on CKUT 90.3 FM in Montreal for Sunday, August the 28th. My name's Sheldon. I am here with Jill. We thank you for tuning in to our show today. We have our usual 30 minutes of news and information from the world of radio for you. If you'd like to get in touch with us, our email address is radioreport@yahoo.com. We're live streaming and archived at ckut.ca. We invite you to join our Facebook group, International Radio Report. We have one new member this week, Marula, who's all the way from Pakistan joining us. Welcome. And you can go and check our YouTube channel to listen to the show over again or for the first time, or listen to previous shows if you like. The channel is International Radio Report. We have 676 subscribers. You can subscribe and receive notices each time the new shows are posted there. So we don't have a lot of stories today, but have a few interesting ones. And we're going to continue a discussion that we started last week on one of the new radios that's out there on the market that's causing a lot of a stir out there among the radio community. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But we'll get going with the few stories that we have. Some kind of a broad scope of stories here today, starting with one from Radio Inc. And the headline is COVID Changed the On-Air Culture. At Morning Show Boot Camp Thursday, Jacob Media President Fred Jacobs presented new data from 750 on-air personalities. The presentation, called Radio Talent in the Post-Pandemic Era, showed that 55% of on-air personalities say the pandemic changed the culture at their station, especially those in bigger companies. The average radio personality now wears 3 hats. 1/3 wear 4, according to the new report. And the smaller the company, the more hats. Nearly half of the survey respondents said they've added more job responsibilities since COVID began, with a notable increase in the last year. Half of the respondents say they no longer have work-life balance. A majority are comfortable financially, but 1/3 are in debt or struggling. The desirability of medium-sized companies is on the rise, while big companies are becoming less attractive. 42% of those surveys that work in larger companies feel they are part of the company's future. The overall feeling is that radio talent is taken for granted. 46% strongly agree with that, while 37% agree. Most say they would not recommend a high school student pursue radio as a career. The general conclusion from the data Jacobs collected was that while the stress is certainly high for on-air talent, they are still very passionate about the business. Jacobs tells Radio Inc. he's planning to host a webinar soon to present the data to the entire industry. This doesn't sound really good for radio.
No, it's like a lot of businesses. I think they're trying to squeeze more and more of what you have to do, all the tasks you have to go, not just an on-air personality, but you have to do more. When you look at some of these personalities, some of them, arrive early, have to really do a lot of work before they actually get on the air to do a show. And I think they're squeezing more and more of that work to these people to try to maximize probably profits.
Yeah, if you can get fewer people to do all of the work that more people were doing before, then you're going to be cutting some salaries and some benefits and what have you. So, and if people are a little worried about, am I going to keep my job? Well, then you're going to take on that extra work and maybe not complain about it.
Yep.
So, I think the owners have the upper hand here, maybe with a little leverage over the employees, and or maybe taking advantage of that because of it. So, I think I can understand that comment too about not necessarily wanting to encourage younger people to get into radio. It's not the glamorous thing that it used to be.
No.
When there were the big personalities and people tuned in just as much for the person as they did for the content, maybe that's not happening anymore. And maybe that prestige thing of, wow, I'm on the radio doesn't mean all that much anymore.
As the older guys are leaving, and these were the ones that people would tune to, it seems like the newer generation getting in there is, I don't know if it's incapable of creating enough of a brand for themselves to be a personality that everyone goes to, or it's just a change in the way radio is today. But definitely, it's not as important. And I could see that some people might not want to go into the radio field anymore because that's not what it is. You're not going to be the big star anymore.
Certainly on FM. I mean, many music FM stations, you barely hear the announcers other than maybe the morning show and maybe the drive home show. The rest of the day, a lot of it is voice tracked. Person's not even really there. Or, you've got, 50 minutes worth of music and 9 minutes worth of commercials, and the announcer gets to talk for like a minute, an hour or something. You're going to be doing something else during that time too. And that's maybe not what you expected if you were going to be, quote unquote, on the radio.
Yeah. So NASA posts what a black hole sounds like. And this is by Annabelle Timsit, The Washington Post. One dark-humored Twitter user wrote, "I can confirm that the black hole noise NASA released is the sound of hell." Another said, "New genre, just cropped. Cosmic horror." What does a black hole sound like? Both creepy and ethereally beautiful, according to people who've listened to an audio clip posted on Twitter by NASA. The U.S. Space Agency tweeted what it called a remixed sonification of the black hole at the center of a galaxy cluster known as Perseus, which lies about 240 million light-years away from Earth. The sound waves identified there nearly 2 decades ago were extracted and made audible for the first time this year, according to NASA. The 34-second clip set social media ablaze, with many people gobsmacked that anything, let alone what sounds like an eerie, guttural moan, could escape a black hole. But the idea that there is no sound in space is actually a popular misconception, the agency said. While most of the space is a vacuum, with no medium for sound waves to travel through, a galaxy cluster has copious amounts of gas that envelop the hundreds and even thousands of galaxies within it, providing a medium for the sound waves to travel, it explained. The clip, which NASA describes as Black Hole Remix, was first released in early May to coincide with NASA's Black Hole Week. But a tweet Sunday by NASA Exoplanets team really took off, with the clip being viewed more than 13 million times. The sound waves were discovered in 2003, when after 53 hours of observation, researchers with NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory discovered the pressure waves sent out by the black hole caused ripples in the cluster's hot gas that could be translated into a note. But humans couldn't hear that note because its frequency was too low, the equivalent of a B minor flat, some 57 octaves below the middle C note of a piano, according to NASA. So astronomers at Chandra remixed the sound and increased its frequency by 57 and 58 octaves. Another way to put this is that they are being heard 144 quadrillion and 288 quadrillion times higher than their original frequency, NASA said. Experts have cautioned that the sound of NASA's remix isn't exactly what you'd hear if you were somehow standing beside a black hole. Human ears wouldn't be sensitive enough to be able to pick up those sound waves. Michael Smith, professor of astronomy at the University of Kent in England, told the Post, "But they are there. They're the right sort of frequency, and if we amplified it, we would then be able to hear it," Smith said. He likened it to a radio. You turn up the sound, the volume is higher, then you hear it. So we have that 34-second clip to have you guys listen to it. So I think we could be preparing for Halloween with this kind of sound, actually.
Yeah, the timing's pretty good on that. First off, you wouldn't want to be standing beside a black hole.
No, not really.
You wouldn't be standing, I'll tell you that right now.
No.
But yeah, it's interesting that they're getting these cosmic sounds coming, that they're now able to manipulate them and mix them. And hey, it's a new job for DJs. They can create these cosmic mixes.
Yep, absolutely.
There is a reason to get into radio. We have found it.
That reminds me of,
Anyways.
was it last year or 2 years ago when they actually released what it sounded like on Mars? And it was kind of weird.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, there's, people track these earth sounds and stuff in the very, very low frequency range. And, some people are really into that sort of thing. So yeah, there are these natural sounds. Jupiter's one you can monitor on shortwave, actually.
Yes.
What is it? Somewhere up in 20 megahertz, I think it is.
Between 20 and 25, I think it's centered around 22. We possibly all have heard Jupiter at some point without even knowing we were hearing Jupiter when tuning around the bands. Yeah,
interesting. By the way, Jupiter doesn't QSL though.
No.
So, and don't bother sending a reception report.
But it's pretty good DX though for the distance.
It is, yes. Nice to add to your log. Next, we move to an interesting story. I think we should challenge this one ourselves. Let me know what you think when we're finished the story here.
Yeah.
A record-setting 261-hour broadcast. This comes from Radio Inc. KAPA radio station, Hawaii afternoon drive host Tommy Kahikina Ching set a new world record for continuous radio broadcast by remaining on the air for 261 consecutive hours. He broadcast 22 hours per day, every day from Monday, August the 1st through noon on Friday, August the 12th. He also raised more than $50,000 for the Hawaii Island United Way. The Hawaii United Way president, Karen Davis, said when he approached us about partnering with him to achieve his goal to hold the longest DJ broadcast while simultaneously raising $50,000 for us, we were honored and elated to join him on this endeavor. Tommy was thrilled to take on this challenge. It had been my dream to take control of a radio station and bring our community together to do something that no one else has ever done. I wanted to show that even donations of 50 cents or a couple of dollars could have a huge impact for the organization that helps those in need. Those donations will allow Hawaii Island Way to fund programs for our island, Tommy continued. In Hawaii, we say that aloha can't be bought, only shared. Pacific Media Group Regional Vice President Joshua Mednick said, Tommy is a very special person. Our responsibility as broadcasters is to serve the public interest. These last 12 days, Tommy has taken that to a whole new level. This is a great demonstration of the power of local radio. Pacific Media Group was born in the state of Hawaii and has remained purely local for over 35 years. All of us that work here share a commitment to our island, but what Tommy has done is something truly amazing. He can come in late next Monday if he wants.
So when are we going to beat that record?
Well, we got to do 262 to break it. Let me check my calendar. I'll get back to you on that.
22 hours a day. That's not a lot of sleep, actually. Huh?
No. So you're allowed that, 2 hour breaks throughout each day? I don't know. Well, we'll have to think about this one.
Then, of course, we do need to have 262 hours of content.
Somehow, I think we might be able to come up with that, though.
That's a possibility. Just when we do the show, we often talk for an hour, 2 hours sometimes before we even start recording the show. So, yeah, that's a definite possibility. Different points of interest we have.
I'm not sure we're going to find a radio station that's going to let us take 262 hours worth of their time, though.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one. We're going to have to start our own station if we want to do it.
That's right. There you go. We'll do it on YouTube or something.
Oh man,
you're almost there on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, I had a 5.5-hour run, but that's a nice story for raising money to help.
I wonder how many people listened for a good portion of it.
Yeah, these are the kind of shows or the kind of things that you want to listen, But
Yeah.
it's an off and on thing. You turn on the radio, listen what's
Yeah.
happening, do something else, come back later.
They don't mention what the content was, though. I wonder what he was doing for that 261 hours. I mean, how do you know he's on the air if he was playing music and stuff?
Yeah.
I don't know if KAPA is a talk station or what that station is. They call him the afternoon drive host, which would imply that maybe it's a music station. I'm not sure. We'll look into this. We'll have to see.
Because they just say continuous radio broadcast. So it doesn't say it has to be just spoken word. It could be music in there, and he just has to be on the air and be behind the microphone when he needs to talk. But I guess it's a mix of probably music and talk. What's happening with our son? Well, last week we had a lot of activity. It kind of quieted down over the weekend, but we did have quite a few geomagnetic storms last week. Now this week, things have picked up again because a new sunspot, AR 3089, started crackling with a series of intensifying M-class solar flares. So the activity is picked up again, and even though the sunspot is not Earth-directed for now, as it moves across the solar disk, it's probably going to impact us more. But there are a lot of radio blackouts that have happened because of the flares. They say that it's actually growing and is on the verge of producing possibly some X-class solar flares, which are the strongest flares you can have on the sun. So that might have a big impact on our radio hobby, and maybe see some more auroras as the sky actually now, as we're getting into the fall, the sun sets much earlier. Now, for this week, what's going to happen is there is a coronal hole that is going to have some solar wind reaching us possibly on the 29th or the 30th. Add that to all the flares and all the coronal mass ejections that are happening. It's a perfect mix for some geomagnetic storming conditions. Now, if you want to know what the bands are like, you got to turn on a radio and listen.
Bonjour, vous êtes à l'écoute du International Radio Report sur CKUT 90,3 FM à Montréal, une émission de 30 minutes tous les dimanches matins qui parle du merveilleux monde de la radio, autant international que local.
So, this week, I was supposed to receive one of the brand new receivers that came out, which was the Ethon Satellite HD radio. And I got a nice big box in the mail Monday morning. Happy guy opens the radio, turns into a grumpy guy because I had the wrong radio. So I was expecting to test the new HD receiver from Ethon, even though a lot of the things about it are negative. I got a call actually because I posted it on my Facebook group, and I think about half an hour later I got a call from HRO. Somebody saw the post and said, "Oh, we goofed up here." I had the option of, look, they're going to ship me another one, and I'm going to return the one that I got, which was an Ethon Elite 750. And after thinking about it, I finally decided, well, you know what? Maybe it's better for me to get the Ethon Satellite HD when they will have fixed all the flaws that people are discovering. And I had an Ethon Elite 750. I did not have that radio. And a lot of people ask me over time, ever tried that radio? What do you think about it? So I decided to keep it for review purposes, and that was a very active week in review purposes with that radio, I can tell you that. So first of all, about the Ethon Satellite HD, we have more information about it. One of the main reasons that they stopped selling it was the HD radio side, which locks. Apparently, Universal, when they tested it, the HD radio locked 3 times in an hour. So the radio just froze. So it's obviously a big problem there, and it probably is fixable with a firmware upgrade because these radios now have, little pieces of code. They're almost computers now. So that probably would be one thing. Apparently also, because HRO did tell me when they called me on Monday that the dealer actually told everybody, stop selling them. And you remove them from your computers to make sure you don't sell one. So that means Ethon is going to look into it. According to Universal, Ethon said it could be several weeks before things are fixed. So we're going to wait for that in the future. In the meantime, there is one guy that got one and posted a couple of videos on a YouTube channel. First things that he did was to compare that new $600 Ethon Satellite HD against a Texan H501, which is the flagship, if you want, of Texan right now as a portable radio, which is half the price. And first things that he observed is that the half-priced H501 seems to perform a lot better than the new Ethon Satellite HD, which is not good news, because if shortwave performance isn't that great, that is a major problem. And I think if I had to rant a little bit, I think Ethan just decided to take, the same, because it's the same box, the same radio enclosure that they used in the past radio, which was the E1 XM. And I think they just put some, DSP-based receiver in there and tried to sell it as a brand new expensive receiver that everybody wants. And I think it's not working out the way it should. So that's the latest news we've got. And it's not good news, actually. For the radio that I got, which was the Ethon Elite 750, I have to say it is a extremely sexy looking radio. I mean, it is a big desktop portable. It has a rotatable antenna on top. It is a long wave, medium wave, short wave receiver. I can see the attraction immediately to anyone out there looking for a shortwave radio because it looks really cool. In my own tests, the wide filter is way too wide. And that is a huge problem because it can make it extremely difficult to tune in stations that are close together. Not counting that when stations are not, full quieting, full power, you have a lot of noise that gets into the radio because the wide filter gets the noise around it a lot more. It's also off by 3 kilohertz, which I don't understand a $400 radio can be like that. So that's the main issue that I have on it. There are kind of workarounds. One of them was to tune into the narrow mode. And if you want to listen to an international broadcast, for example, you tune it 2 kilohertz off so that the audio sounds clearer. But still, I rant a lot because for $400, that radio shouldn't be like that. It's kind of fun for the rest. The tuning of the single sideband is kind of cool. It's an old school type radio with a BFO knob, but it works great. It's quite sensitive, even a little too much on the outdoor antenna that I have here, the MLA30. It often overloaded on bands where there's a lot of strong stations. But they have a RF gain button on it and attenuator, so you can actually kick that in to make the signals better. Long wave is interesting for one reason. Not a lot of radios go there, so if you're looking for a radio that can tune the medium wave part where there's Navtex transmission around 518 kilohertz, a lot of radios actually omit that little part and they jump from 500 kilohertz up to the medium wave band, and they have that part missing there. This one actually is it's continuous. It's really from 100 kilohertz to 29,999. Doesn't miss or any gap. You can actually tune those 518 kilohertz Navtex if you want with it. So it's not all a disaster. It's actually an okay radio, but I can't recommend it, even though if it looks so cool, for the simple reason that for the price that it's sold, $400, it shouldn't have the flaws that I discovered on them. There's a little tip that I can give you guys if you still want it, because I know that it's so irresistible that people will still buy it because it looks so cool and will cope with the problems. The Texan S2000 version, which is the same exact radio, is $280. So you can save $120 by buying the Texan version on the Anonco website, ANONCO, and it's going to cost you less. So you're going to save some money at least buying the Texan version.
Yeah. Now, if people want to see the radio, now when you put the YouTube version of our show up on the YouTube channel, you actually put some pictures and stuff to go
Yep.
along with the show. So if you want to go and see some pictures of the radio and hear Gilles talking about it as he's done on the show here, you'll be able to see, some shots of the radio so that you see exactly
Absolutely.
what the radio is that we're talking about. And then, of course, you can go and check your videos on your YouTube channel. So maybe we should remind people of how to get to that YouTube channel.
Yeah, it's the official SWL channel. And that channel has a lot of radio videos. So if you're in the market for a new radio, actually, it's the place to go because I review a lot of receivers, and including the Ethon Elite 750. So check that out. I think there's a lot of interesting content there. There's a lot of videos for beginners. I've been starting a new series for beginners to try to help them understand, what different features are and how they work. And I also am starting a series soon about taking all the radios that people actually own and tuning it, playing around with it, so that people see the buttons I press and the way I use it to tune single sideband or international broadcasts. I've had a few in the past, and people say they're very helpful because it's visual.
Yeah, I think that's important. And I think that's part of the problem. Like you said, you had a lot of people ranting and, complaining about the reviews. But in many cases, their listening conditions in different locations are one thing to take into consideration. A lot of new people may be getting their first shortwave radio, not understanding, well, what's the problem with these things that he's pointing out? Like, why is it so important? So there's a lot to learn with shortwave. It's not your typical AM FM radio.
Definitely.
So definitely make use of some of those YouTube videos. I think it'll really help you understand to buy a new radio, and also help you to understand the radios that you may already have.
So we have upcoming ham radio contests.
We do. We start off over in Japan, the All Asian DX contest. It is organized by the Japan Amateur Radio League. It is running on 160 through 10 meters, no work bands. It's a sideband contest. Single sideband is the mode. And it runs from 0000 Zulu September 3rd to 2359 Zulu September the 4th.
There's the Colorado QSO Party, 1300 Zulu September 3rd to 04 Zulu September 4th, organized by the Pikes Peak Radio Amateur Association. Bands, there's the HF bands from 160 to 10 meters, excluding the work bands. There's all VHF and UHF bands, including 6 meters. Specifically, all amateur bands are included except the work bands. This includes all bands above VHF and UHF. No repeater or satellite QSOs, and the modes are SSB, phone, CW, and digital are TTY, PSK31, and other digital modes are accepted.
The German Telegraphy Activity Group is holding the Straight Key Party, 1300 Zulu to 1600 Zulu September the 3rd. It's 40 meter band only, and it's CW only.
There's the CWOPS CW Open, 2000 Zulu to 2359 Zulu, September 3rd, organized by the CW Ops. Bands 160, 80, 40, 20, 15, and 10 meters, and it's CW only.
And finally, the PODX S070 Club has the J. Hudak Memorial 80-meter Sprint, 2000 Zulu September 3rd to 2000 Zulu September 4th. That is organized by the Penn, Ohio DX Society, and the contest is dedicated to the memory of J. Hudak, KA3 X-ray. It's operating on 80 meters only, and this one is using PSK31 mode only.
And we are out of time.
We thank you for tuning in, and we'll have all these stories and information and links to the contest posted up on our Facebook page right after the show, so you can check them out there. And of course, as we said, go to our YouTube channel if you want to listen to the show again and sort of get the visual aspect of the show as well, as Gilles puts together a accompanying video to go with the audio of the program. So thanks for joining us today. We'll do it again next Sunday morning at 10:30 Eastern, 14:30 UTC here on CKUT 90.3 FM in Montreal. Have a great week, everybody.
Bye-bye.